What's going on, everyone? I am Dr. Nee, and I'm pretty excited because I have one of the most highly trained physicians out there, at least the most utilized and most critical of doctors out there right now, at least over the past 2 years. Won't you say, Dr. Freeman? You are a critical care doctor who I guess is like literally America's doctor right now, right? Like you and your cohort are saving America and taking care of the sickest of the sickest, which are mainly patients who are in the intensive care unit, stricken with COVID-19. But as important as that job is, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about, despite all the accolades that you have and how well trained you are, you can't get a job. You won't take a job. As a matter of fact, you call yourself an unemployable doctor. Dr. Stephanie Freeman. Talk to us about this. Welcome to Docs Outside, first of all. How you doing?
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for having me. I'm Dr. Stephanie. I'm a board certified critical care physician, and I tell people proudly that I am unemployable. I have been doing locums since 2008. And I would like to tell people that I started doing locums by choice. I would like to tell people this wonderful fairy tale about how I just happened to find locums. But no, life isn't a fairy tale. Life is reality. And I got forced into doing locums because I lost my first job.
Hmm.
Plain and simple. Lost my first job out of fellowship. I uh, completed my critical care fellowship at the University of Pittsburgh, and I was all ready to save the world. You
That's
know,
one of the finest places that you could train at.
for critical care, absolutely, because University of Pittsburgh started critical care as a specialty. And so I finished up many moons ago, and I was young and idealistic and leaving the mecca of critical care, UPMC, and going to the community in Pittsburgh because I wanted to stay in Pittsburgh because I think it's a nice city. Wanted to settle down. I got a job at a community based hospital who had never worked with an intensivist. And so the group was more of a traditional private practice pulmonary critical care group. So the concept of an intensivist, somebody who was just there in the ICU, having her hands in all the critical care patients, was a completely foreign concept. And when things did not go over as planned, my contract was not renewed. But Dr. Need, they don't talk to us in medical school residency or fellowship about what to do as a physician should you find yourself unemployed.
Mm.
I remember getting not one lecture about that. As a matter of fact, I remember not getting any lectures about the job market. And as a physician, I think I was either expected to do either academics or private practice, but nobody talked to me or anybody in our class about jobs and business and the volatility of the medical marketplace. So I was devastated when I got my walking papers. I
So,
mean,
so just so everybody understands, right? So when you say you were an intensivist and normally the ICU is taking care of pulmonary critical care docs, just so people understand, like there are internal medicine doctors who do additional training and they become pulmonary critical care docs. I'm assuming that these doctors would come in the morning. They probably would take care of patients who were on a ventilator or patients who were on the intensive care unit. And then once they finished rounding in the morning, they'd say sayonara and they went to their sleep. Clinic or something that was a little bit more lucrative,
their
right?
outpatient pulmonary practice, correct.
That outpatient pulmonary clinic. And although these are some of the sickest patients, they're probably being managed over the phone,
Over the
um,
phone.
or they're getting managed by the end of the day. And then you come and you kind of change all of that. And you're like, nah, I'm here from 7 in the morning till like 7 at night or wherever. And I'm taking all these different patients. And it's just a big jolt and a big change for those doctors who are already there. And let me guess, they weren't too happy for it. And they sent you your walking papers shortly afterwards.
Yeah, they weren't too happy about it. The group got a lot of pushback. and they sent me my walk-in papers. But the sad thing is, this has been a rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat throughout my career. Whenever I've been a part of programs that are new programs, new critical care programs, there's always a lot of pushback because the presence of an intensivist is a threat sometimes to the more established ways of practicing medicine. And I always got the brunt of it because oftentimes I was the first doctor there in the program. So I've had repeated bad experience after bad experience after bad experience.
I'm sure there's a lot of we're used to doing this, we don't normally do that, and Dr. Freeman is like, no, 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 standard of care. Research says this.
Right.
This is what the articles say.
Yes.
No, 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 Dr. Freeman, we're used to doing this, but so and so doctor used to do that, and used to do incentive AC instead of SIMV. All these different things. I get it. Okay, keep going, keep going. You come up with the new, and they're all like used to the old stuff.
Right. They're all used to the old stuff. But here's the thing. Um, Medical training doesn't prepare us for the real world. It prepares us in how to be physicians and maybe how to work in an academic setting, but it does not prepare us to be physicians in a medical marketplace that has been so volatile over the past 15 years. This isn't, and people will tell you, like with every industry, it's not your parents' industry anymore. It's not where you're going to go and get one job and stay. My mother is a teacher, and she just retired after I made her retire during this COVID pandemic after 42 years of teaching, 39 years at the same job.
Yeah,
39
that
years
doesn't happen at all. Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Kudos to her though. Congratulations to her. That's really dope. She got a pension?
Man, my mama is living her best life right now.
Tell me her address. I know where to stay if something goes wrong.
Listen, my mom is living her best life right now. But yeah, so people don't tell us about that during training. And so we get out here, and we're just shocked at how you're not going to stay in one job for the rest of your career. You know, there's such a churn. And even as an employed physician, those employment contracts are 3 years at the most. And you're lucky if you make it through the 3 years. So I found myself kind of going through this churn, and I was like, this ain't it. This is not what I thought it was going to be after all of the sacrifice and training that we did. And, you know, you just live to be an attending, and you get to be an attending, and 9 months later, they're like deuces. And you're like, what just happened?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting you mention it, because what the audience doesn't know is that we're fresh off of talking at Dr. Jarrett Patton's License to Live conference. And, you know, they put my presentation all the way at the end when everybody was tired and stuff. And you had like the prime, you know, time to do your amazing presentation where you talked about, you know, how you basically COVID proof, how do you vaccinate your career to basically protect it and make sure that all of these different things that we're not really taught about, you kind of protect your practice and your clinical practice from that. And I found your presentation to be like phenomenal. And you're getting to this. One of the things that the audience doesn't know is that like it was almost 3 jobs that you got fired from or let go from.
Oh Lord, how many? I was like, I would say at least 2 times. At least twice. One time was really, really bad. I mean, and one time was like, get the lawyers, you know, we might have to go to court. These people are threatening my license type bad.
Really?
Bad. So I've seen the worst in which employers can treat you just to make a point, just to prove something. And I was like, I'm not doing this again. I am not doing this again. And we see this now. There's so much hurt amongst physicians, especially during this pandemic, because you remember when the pandemic started, we didn't have enough personal protective gear. People were getting fired for wearing masks. People were speaking out. And a couple of hundred physicians have died from COVID, and physicians literally risked their lives. We had physicians, you know, having to work in environments they weren't used to, taking care of different types of subsets of patients that they weren't used to taking care of, and working ridiculously long hours and making adjustments for the good of the institution to provide the best care for the patients. And then you get thanked with, oh, by the way, we're renegotiating you all's contracts because hospitals losing money, and it's never favorable when
Yeah.
somebody comes to you and says we're renegotiating your contract. Some physicians just were flat out fired, flat out let go, terminated, furloughed. All of these things happen to physicians as a result of this pandemic, and I just said that there's got to be a better way that we can start putting ourselves first in order to protect our best interest, which ultimately will protect the patient's best interest.
Hmm. So, like it's devastating, I'd have to say, to probably have to leave two jobs like that, and I think, most people that probably be a career ender or they would just kind of go into someplace and not come back. But you came back but you came back doing locums.
Mhm.
So tell me why, like, rather than look for another position as an employed doctor, you decided, well, I'm going to go to the locums route, and then kind of just let us kind of build that story as to how you became like the guru with locums.
Right, right. Well, here's the thing. I've always been that person that's been a hustler. I've always been that person. I got it from my mom because even though she taught for 42 years, she was always the person who really instilled in us the value of entrepreneurship. And she was like,
Yeah.
business is key. Entrepreneurship is key. And she really instilled upon us the value of doing that. And she had multiple part-time jobs herself because my parents got divorced when I was young. My mother raised us on a teacher salary. Teacher salary only goes so much, so far. So my mother was always teaching extra classes, working at the different colleges in our hometown, and she was always doing extra. So I got it from my mama. She's got an excellent work ethic. And so I was that resident during residency that was always moonlighting. I was that one. Y'all know how in every, training program, that's that one person that's always got the side hustle going on, but that was me.
Like, Dr. Freeman, I need you to do extra shifts. Nope. I'm doing it at this other place. I can do this extra shift
Exactly,
someplace.
exactly.
Yeah, got
I'm
you.
doing that at the other place where I
Yeah,
get paid. I've already signed up,
yeah.
So I was always that person. As soon as I, could get my unrestricted license, I got it. As soon as I got to go ahead to do my moonlighting, I did it. And so I already realized that there were so many other ways that you could make money and supplement your income and even make a better income. So I was making more money, working extra shifts at the other hospital, doing disability evaluations on the weekend. I was making more money at sometimes than I brought home as a resident. We didn't really make that much money. So I always understood that there was a concept, that there was just other stuff out there that you just had to look for.
Hmm.
So when I lost my first job, yes, it was devastating, and yes, it was embarrassing, but I was like, I'm just gonna pick up the phone, call these people down the street. Kids, I know I moonlit there during my residency. I'm just gonna pick up some more shifts there, and I'm gonna bring home more money. But the thing is, I fell into locums because I had other outside interests besides being a critical care doctor, and I wanted to develop those interests. So I decided to go back to school to get my MBA because that's what my mama told me to do. And being a locums doctor gave me the ability because I could focus on my schoolwork, and then I could just work the shifts that I needed to work to pay my bills and pay my mortgage.
Okay.
So that's how that marriage came to be. And I was like, you know what? This is pretty nice. I have the best of both worlds. I can pursue other interests, I can develop other aspects of myself, my whole being, and not be consumed with work. I put work in its appropriate category, and locums allowed me to do that while discovering other parts of myself.
So for those who are listening, there's actually a lot of residents, fellows who are listening, maybe even attendings who are listening who don't know what you mean by, the ability to work here at a locums position and then still be able to go to MBA. Like, explain how that work balance
Right,
works. Like, how does that work? Like, what does that mean?
right. Because as a locums physician, locum tenens means placeholder. It's Latin for placeholder.
Ah,
So
Latin. Yeah.
yes. So when you are a locums doctor, you are a physician who is working as an independent contractor for an organization on an as needed basis in order to fill in the gaps, to serve the place of. So if they have some openings and they don't have a permanent physician there, they're going to need temporary help. And because it's temporary, and you know that going in, there's a lot of leeway in terms of how you and the facility can structure your schedule, because you're not an employee. They can't, or they won't tell you you have to work this day or else I'm going to fire you, because you don't work for them. I mean, you're an independent contractor, so you work and you get paid and then you go work somewhere else. So you're able to do that for the most part as a locums doctor, because you're not beholden contractually to any one organization. And that's kind of in the contract. You can go to multiple organizations and work as it fits your schedule.
Hmm. And when you are going to these different facilities, who you're flipping the bill with travel? I'm assuming you have to do hotels. Like, how does all that work?
Right. So usually you go through a locums agency, and the locums agency contracts with the organization, and the locums agency pays for your travel or reimburses your travel. So the benefits of doing locums are you
First class,
typically, nah, I'm,
coach. All right, I'll
I'm,
take it
I'm
there. Still take.
right. I'm chilling at a Hilton, a Hampton Inn. So you typically get a higher hourly rate because you're not an employed physician. So they're not paying you benefits. So you can see that in terms of a higher hourly rate. And the locums company pays for flight, hotel, rental car, or if you drive your own car, they reimburse your mileage. And the company, the client, pays for those expenses. And then the locums company takes care of all of that for you.
Hmm. Okay. So, one of the things that people get nervous about is, okay, well, if I work for myself and I'm working with a locums company, what about like my health insurance, or what about like things like that being employed would normally afford you, like a 401k and all those different. How do you figure all that stuff out?
Basically, this is easy. You get it yourself.
Hmm.
Here's the thing that a lot of people, a lot of physicians, I think, need to realize, and this is one of the things that I love to preach to anybody that'll listen, is medicine is a business, and physicians need to start looking at themselves as a business. And we are our own business. So, what do I mean by that? When you're working as a locums doctor, you're getting 1099 income. That is untaxed. The tax has not been taken out of that money. So, you're getting all of that. So, in the eyes of the IRS, you are a business. So, therefore, you are a business and you can behave as a business. So just like you would be in private practice, let's say you wanted to go and you wanted to open up your own private practice, and you rented a brick and mortar office, and you set your shingle up and you started advertising for patients to come see you, and you hired a staff, and then you would pay the staff a salary, and you would get a benefits package for you and your staff, and you would pay for health insurance and life insurance and disability insurance and a retirement plan. So just like you would do that if you were to go into private practice and go into business for yourself, as a locums doctor, you are the business for yourself. So you just get that same those same benefits, those same entities, those same items. You just obtain that yourself, and it's easier than people would think. You can get your own health insurance policy. You can get a individual policy for yourself. You can get a family policy. You can do your own retirement accounts. And there are some great benefits of being self employed and getting your own retirement accounts. The tax benefits are amazing. You can purchase your own disability insurance policy. You should already have a life insurance policy, but if you don't, you can purchase that as well too. So there's so all of these quote unquote benefits that your traditional employer provides for you, you can just get that on your own. And
Mm.
the great thing is it's yours. You can do with it what you want to do with it. And then that just makes you even more portable and dynamic because you're not beholden to any organization for your health insurance. You're like, I got my own. So yeah.
So what when you started locums, and when did you start realizing like, yo, this is for me. This is what I really want to do. How long did it take you getting into it for you to be like, yeah, this is my jam. This is where I'm going to be at.
Yeah, you know what? I was really digging it when I got into it. And then I finished my MBA and I was like, oops, I don't have an excuse anymore. Let me get a real
Mm.
job.
Got you.
I
Okay, I see. I see where this is
mean,
going.
it's like never make a decision out of desperation or embarrassment. Because I can tell you though, the times I made those decisions, I can tell you stories about the institutions and the organizations that I was running to in attempts to run away from my discomfort in terms of not embracing the fact that I'm unemployable. I've been in some bad situations.
Now,
But
when you say unemployable, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean by unemployable? Like, let people know. Like, if you could dichotomize what it means to be employed for you versus what it means to be unemployed. Take us through that, because I think sometimes when people all they know is like, I finish training and then I get a job and I'm going to be employed. Either I'm working with a private practice or a group practice, or I'm going to be employed working at a hospital. Like, take us through that dichotomy, like that I can
right,
do this, but I can't do that. I can do this, or take us through
right.
that.
When you are employed and you are working under an employment contract and you are a W 2 employee, there are
I can see where this is going to go.
restrictions in terms of what you can and what you cannot do. And I don't think the general public realizes that. And I didn't realize that until I got my first contract. Your employer can literally dictate what you do on your off time. They can dictate that.
Yeah, I've seen
They,
that.
they can tell you they don't want you going and working anywhere else. Now let's talk about what kind of sense that makes. I am a critical care doctor. I work in shifts. Okay, 7A to 7P. Typically work 14, maybe 21 shifts a month. So that means that there is a huge block of time every single month in which I have no clinical duties, that I'm not in anybody's hospital.
So like an
That
addition, like basically like 2 weeks off.
right. So technically speaking, that time should belong to me. And I should be able to do whatever I want to do during that time. I should be able to moonlight somewhere else. I should be able to work extra shifts. I should be able to speak. I should be able to do consulting work. I should be able to do writing. I should be able to make television appearances. But if you read your employment contract very carefully, they will lay out that there are certain things that you cannot do without express written permission of them. And even so, if you do certain things, they will ask for a cut. I know people who wanted to do speaking, and their employer was like, you could do speaking, but that money you earn speaking as a physician comes to us, you
Yeah,
know.
I've seen that. That was in my first contract at my first job, and I had that negotiated out. I thought it was a joke, like not a joke, but I thought I was like, first of all, like how likely are they going to act on this? I didn't think I was really naive, but I had it taken out. But it said basically all monies that you make outside of working clinically at this hospital belongs to the hospital. And I was like, oh, this has to be a mistake.
Right,
Right. And I talked to my lawyer about that. I was like, first of all, how you missed this? Right. And he's like,
right.
no, you're right. Like, so he went back and talked to them. They're like, oh, this is an old relic. from our old contracts, and they took it out. But at the time, like I was already doing locums. Like my first job as soon as I finished fellowship was locums. So I
Right.
knew I worked just like you. Like my trauma surgery was shift work. You work 2 weeks on and then you're 2 weeks off. And we had loans. So we're just like, look, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be traveling and doing work. And you are right. Like I've seen people say, yeah, I didn't see that in my contract. I was doing all this extra locums and they said, we want to cut.
Hmm.
Yeah, we want our money. I'm like,
Right.
wait, what?
And
Yeah.
here's the thing that kills me is like some contracts even have intellectual property clauses in it, basically in which they say we don't care what you do. If you write a book about children traveling throughout the world, we want a cut because we're claiming your intellectual property. And so why is it they think that just because they employ you that they own you?
Yeah.
And I had real problems with that because I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. You know how the Bible says you can't serve two masters, you're going to love one and hate the other. I tell every physician, and I can see it coming now. When people get fired, I can see it coming 6 months ahead. I was like, I would tell them you need to start planning another job. You need to start planning your transition because you have so many outside interests, and you really want to build this interest, and you really want to do that, and your focus and your love and your passion is not being in this job. The universe recognizes that, and that dichotomy is not going to work out well for you. And your employer is going to recognize that you're not that they can't do this to you. They can't put you under their thumb because you have so many outside, and so it's not going to work. You're going to be let go. So that's just kind of how it is. And that's why I say I am unemployable because I refuse to enter into any type of contract that is so restrictive that it violates my core values as a person.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not doing that.
What if they give you like $1 million?
Listen,
Come on, Dr. Freeman.
here's the
Come on,
thing.
Dr. Stephanie. Come
No,
on.
here's the thing that I would tell everybody. I said, you can pay me, but you'll never own me.
Look at that. Say that again, Dr. Stephanie.
You can pay
Not
me,
even a
but
million dollars.
you can pay me, but you'll never own me. And you know what? $1 million is not that much money.
Dr. Stephanie.
I I know neurosurgeons making $1 million a year.
Got him. Boom. Yep.
I know neurosurgeons making $1 million a year. So $1 million is not that much money to be owned by anybody. In fact, I have a friend who was a neurosurgeon, and they were paying him an astronomical amount of money at the time. And he just had to tell those people, he was like, you don't own me. And here's the thing that I think so much of corporate medicine really thinks about physicians. Number one, they think we're replaceable. They think we're expendable, and they think we're providers that, we could just be interchanged in and out and in and out. And that's fine if you want to think of us like that, but then give us the freedom to act like that and to interchange you out as well too.
The proverbial cog in the wheel.
Right, the cog in the wheel. So I'll happily be the cog in your wheel, but just realize that, I'm playing in six different wheels right now.
Yeah.
Okay. In and out, in and out. So like, yeah, you can pay me. I'll gladly let somebody pay me $1 million a year, just so long as they know that regardless of how much you pay me, you will never own me.
So that's so basically what you're saying is like you're not entering into a situation where they tell you when you work or how you work, what you can do, what you can create. Tell us how you work right now. Tell us how your relationship with agencies are working, because I know you spoke about that during the talk, and a lot of people are like, "What? You do this?" And tell us how like you keep this cycle going so that you are never left high and dry.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So I have a rule of threes in doing locums. My rule of threes is work with a minimum of three locums agencies. And it's very important to have those locums agencies always kind of in the background and to always kind of chit chat with the recruiters because it lets you know what's in the marketplace
Mm.
and it lets you know what the market rate is and it allows you to comparison shop. So you find out really quickly which locum companies tend to lowball you and which locums companies can give you a little more, because here's a little trick: they all have the same jobs because all of the jobs now go through a centralized system. So they're all being posted by the same vendor. All of the locums companies are bidding on those jobs. So you'll get a call about one job and you'll get a call from five different agencies. And so you'll be like in the back of your mind, okay, this one is charging this one is charging this one is paying this. So yeah, so I always have actively credentialed with, oh Lord, maybe 10 or so agencies, who knows.
Really?
I'm credentialed with so many people, it's ridiculous.
Wow. Okay. I didn't even know that was that many. Okay. Wow.
I mean, it's ridiculous. I have just randomers. I mean, but I might take an assignment with them one time just to see how it is, you know?
Mm.
So I work with at least three different agencies. I make my schedule 3 months in advance. And
Okay. That's
right
the
now,
second three.
yeah. So right now, I'm actually booked 6 months in advance completely. And the way I do that, and all of the people I work with know, I go with the first people to confirm me.
Okay.
I don't play these little games. Oh, we may have something that's going to come available in a couple of months, and I'm not dealing with you with that. What do you have right now? Can you get me licensed and credentialed in time? And you want to shoot me over just confirmation letter. Okay. So I work with a minimum of three agencies. I always book myself out a minimum of 3 months in advance because the lag time and the lead time to get an assignment is so long. It is so long. To get a license, it took me 7 months to get a Texas medical license, taking you an average 3 to 4 months to get all of these different state licenses, and you got to get hospital privileges. So if you are in a situation in which you come to the end of a block of assignments and you don't have another assignment to go to right that time, then you might as well just say you got a 3 month vacation.
Mm. I see what
Because
you're saying. Okay.
you need to always have something rolling over. So, a minimum of three locums companies, book your schedule 3 months in advance. And depending on what kind of work you do, you always need to have three active assignments that you work every every single month, every 2 to 3 months.
Got you.
And
Okay.
the reason why I say that is because there will come a time in which one assignment gets canceled. You cancel an assignment, or that assignment ends, or you just might have a falling out with your recruiter, the locums company, or something. And if your assignment doesn't work out this week, then you need to have some other assignments with another locums company in the month so that the income hit won't be as bad.
I think because the one thing that I hear, because I love what you say about the rule of threes, right? Like you have three different local companies that you're working with or possibly getting assignments from, three different or you book yourself out 3 months in advance, and then you have three different sites that you go to and you try to give them all some type of attention during that time. There are people who are listening right now and just like, man, I just want to work with one company, and all of that paperwork drives me nuts. But for me, I liken it to like, listen, like it's almost like you're being employed again because you're just putting all of your eggs in one basket. If this locums company cancels on you, or if they, something falls through, then you're back to square one. So I agree with everything that you say, where look, like you got to look at yourself like a business as a vendor, or excuse me, as basically as a vendor. And like you are contracting your services out to all of these different places. And then you have the pick of the litter to decide, I want to go there. I want to go there. I want to go there. And I'm going to let them compete with each other. And then I'm going to make a couple of choices and all keep them, I'm going to keep them in my rotation. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
I,
What? Go ahead. Go
I
ahead, please.
I tell every locums doctor, I said, your second job as a locums doctor is to find your next job as a
Say that
locums.
again. Say that again, Dr. Stephanie. Come on now.
Your,
Say that again.
sec-
Let's do claps. Come on. I love it. I love it.
your second job as a locums doctor is to find your next job as a locums doctor. And it tickles me so bad, and to the point where my mother had to apologize to me. I said, it's so funny how every time I come home from an assignment, everybody I talk to is like, oh, get some rest. Oh, get some rest. Oh, get some rest. But I'm not getting rest because I have to. As soon as I come home, and I'm sure you're like that, I get my expenses together, get that timesheet together, get that receipt together, submit everything, put everything, organize everything that needs to be organized. And then I'm talking to other recruiters. I'm filling out more paperwork, filling out more applications. So even though I might be at home, I'm in my office at the house doing paperwork and emailing and confirming and making sure, hey, how is the credentialing coming with this? Are we going to be set to go on this date? Because I take seriously finding my next jobs, because as a locums doctor, if you don't work, you don't get paid. So
Mm-hmm.
that's very important.
So, one of the things that you mentioned about being employed is you said this, they can control your IP. They can control if you want to do any type of moonlighting. If you want to write a book, they can have a say in that. Whatever you want to do, maybe that may be outside of the box, docs outside the box, whatever it may be, they may have a say in your ability to do this. So let's go through and go to the other side. Let's go into locums, right? Like nothing is perfect, but let's talk about, when you're in a situation where maybe you feel like it's unsafe, or it's a situation where you feel like maybe it's really toxic. Let's talk about those type of situations. What happens as a locums doctor when you're like, I just don't like this? Like, give us the benefits and what you do in those situations.
I email my recruiter and I give them my 30-day notice.
Mm.
Deuces. And in bad situations, I've left.
With no repercussions. And that's the key. Please say that.
Right.
Please emphasize
Right.
that.
So here's the thing. I would not ever recommend that you walk off an assignment. I wouldn't recommend it, but I've done it before. And because I've had good reason and I've documented and communicated clearly with my company, and the client ended up coming back and like, yeah, we know, we're sorry. That was really bad. We're sorry we put you in that situation. So I've only walked off I've only walked off 3 locums assignments in my 13-year locums career.
Yeah.
I've had assignments canceled. That's why I say you need to work multiple assignments so that if one gets canceled, you won't be left high and dry. But I've also canceled my fair share of assignments as well too, because you just get a vibe. You're like, this is not working for me. This is not what I want to do.
So Dr. Stephanie, like there are probably people right now who are listening and they're driving to a job that they can't stand, not because of the clinical duties that they're doing, but maybe, their coworker is really toxic, or the environment, the CEO, the CMO, they've created like a really toxic environment. And, I think that what you just said is really important, though, that when you go to a locums job and you may not like it, because that's a big fear of people. Well, what if I go somewhere and I don't like it? Like, as long as you give like 30 days notice, there's always that option of, listen, like I do my assignment and I just don't have to come back. Right. Whereas when you're employed, you got to fulfill your contract, or you got to fulfill your, when you're about to terminate, your however long, your 90 days or what have you. But for a locum job, you don't have to do that. It's like 30 days. I'm not coming back. And that's it.
Absolutely. And it is so empowering. I can't say that word.
I get that all the time. My W's and R's, yeah.
Empowering. It's so empowering to just not be beholden to anybody, and just to have that emotional and psychological freedom that if it no longer serves you, you don't have to put up with it.
Yeah.
And the great thing about locums, if there's one thing, it will just make you feel so wanted when you are getting phone call after phone call and text message after text message after text message from recruiters who need your services. And one thing I think physicians get I think hit over the head with is, for some reason we've been brainwashed into thinking that what we do is not valuable, that what we do is can be easily done by somebody else, and that there's not a job market for what we do. There's always a job market for what we do. Now you may have to go somewhere else for it, but you are highly wanted and highly skilled and highly desired, and there's no reason for you to be in a situation that makes you unhappy.
Hot take on what you just said. I think honestly, like, you know, so people who run the hospital oftentimes aren't like medical professionals, right? And they understand what you just said. But I oftentimes think like the beginning of that whole notion of I can be replaced or what I do isn't all that, like that's kind of there by us. Not me putting in my mind, but like the way how hard it is to get into medical school. You get in where you fit in, right? And it's like you're lucky to be here, right? And then you get into residency and it's like you get in because some type of computer like got you in and you're just feeling really lucky to get in. But it's this feeling of we can replace you, right? And that feeling gets internalized so that by the time you get to becoming an attending and it's for time for you to call the shots, you're beat down so bad, you don't know that it's time for you to call the shots. Right. So when someone comes to you and says, yo, Dr. Stephanie, I got this, $1 million contract, but, we control, even if you coming on this podcast, people are like, yeah, that's the best that I can get. And I'm going to take it, but you know better. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And my goal is just to help all of us know better, that we have options, and to not really kind of succumb to the mindset and the mind beat down that we physicians have been subject to. Just know you have options.
Yeah, I think when it really hit me was about a half a year, I'd say about 6 months into me working as a locums. Because I just, how it is. You do the residency thing, then you do the fellowship thing, and then it's time to work. And I was working, and then I really wanted to do a mission trip, a medical humanitarian trip. And I got to do it in Ghana, and I got to see family, and Renee went with me. This was before we got married. And I felt really bad taking 2 weeks off or 2.5 weeks off to do this. Right. And, it just, I don't know why. It was just really hard for me to think like, wow, I'm in so much control that I can determine this, but I've never been in control that I feel guilty to be taking this time away. But I'm actually doing good for, society. So, once I got over that, I was like, wow, like I really can control what I do, and what I do and what I want to do may not be in alignment with what a hospital wants me to do or whatever my group, if I join a group, may want me to do. That's taken me a while to get over. I think a lot of people have a hard time realizing that it's like you kind of have to trailblaze your own path, and locums kind of help support that path for you, so to speak. So tell me, Dr. Stephanie, when did you decide, okay, like this has been extremely successful for you. When did you decide that you wanted to kind of like evangelize this, like tell people about this and kind of teach other physicians and so forth about this?
When I joined Facebook. That's crazy. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I would be in all of these groups, and all of these physicians were this close to losing it. Losing jobs, and would be devastated. And I would be like, oh, honey, I've been there before. DM me. Let me let you know there's life on the other side.
Goes down in a DM. Yes.
Yeah. I'd be like, all right, let me, so many physicians were this close to hanging up the stethoscope and hanging up their white coat because they truly internalized everything that was happening to them on an external basis. And I was like, there is a better way. There's a better way. And then because I had a little more experience doing locums than a lot of the doctors in some of these groups, they would just post in these groups about, they're having this experience, or they want to get started doing locums, or they have this. And I would just start sharing what I knew. And so it just kind of happened organically. And then I was like, I just need to get the word out, because I think doing locums is the best kept secret that nobody talks to doctors about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you've done a major service to the medical field by kind of taking away that that thought process of locums is only for docs who can't get, hired by someplace else, or docs who have this issue, or docs who have that issue, and really have broken down, like, here are the economic and lifestyle benefits, and whatever other benefits are of doing this job. And, talk to us, because the people who are listening, right? The people who are listening and not watching this, if you're on YouTube, shout out to you. But if you're listening to this, you can't see that she's able to hide her background better than I am. I'm in a hotel. She's in a hotel too, but she's got that nice virtual background. So tell us about what that says in the back. Let us know about this summit.
Yes, so I am hosting my first ever summit, the Locums Doc Summit, which will be a virtual summit. And this is going to be a 2-day event, 3 days if you come to VIP, in which I'm hosting this for locums doctors. And I am bringing in experts in all fields as it pertains to locums, because I want us to get some intense training and some coaching and just some teaching about what is available, what we can do to jumpstart our locums careers, how we can possibly use locums as a part of what we're already doing, and what are the strategies that we may need to consider taking in order to make sure that we are hitting all the marks in terms of doing locums. So I will be bringing in a CEO of a locums company to give us the insider scoop of how a locums company operates. I will be bringing in an attorney to talk about physician contracts, because yes, there are contracts with locums companies, and there are certain things that you have to be aware of. I will be bringing in financial planners to talk about the financial planning that we need to put into place to make sure that we are covered on all bases. I will be bringing in other physicians who have utilized locums in certain parts of their careers during their career transitions. And often this is just a time to meet and greet virtually other physicians who are doing the same thing. Because one of the things that I've realized as a physician is that being a doctor can be so isolating. We don't really socialize with each other as much as we should. And when we do, we really aren't vulnerable. We don't really talk about what we're experiencing. And then put onto that the fact, if you're a locums doctor, you're on the road, you're by yourself in the hotel room, you may not meet anybody else during the course of your work who does what you do. So I wanted just to bring all of us together so that we can truly say that we're not alone, and to realize that there's strength in numbers. So that we can kind of develop a camaraderie and a fellowship.
So if someone wants to learn more about this, maybe if they want to know when the date is, or when they can, how do they tell them where to go?
Yes, www.thelocumsdocsummit.com. That's www.thelocumsdocsummit.com. And I have a special offer for the listeners of this podcast. That if
bonuses, we like bonuses, we like offers, we love it, we love it, we love it.
Discounts. So if you enter the promotional code DOTB20, DOTB, the number 20, you get 20% off your purchase to this amazing conference.
Dr. Stephanie is always on the up and up, everyone. She is always prepared. Seriously, she is always prepared. She knows what she is talking about. Listen, this was dope. But before we go, I got to get some more knowledge out of you real quick. So for someone who's getting ready to finish fellowship, someone who is like, yo, I'm at they're an attending. They're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to work. I can't stand my group members anymore. I can't stand my colleagues. I hate their guts. Or I hate the chief medical officer. I want to leave my job. So to get ready for locums, what are some like real quick tips that you would offer to someone to kind of make sure that they are getting ready to, either attach themselves to an agency, or just what's the primer that they need to do to get ready for locums?
The prime work you need to do to get ready for locums is to make sure that you are handling your business, your current business. So if you're in a job, you need to make sure you transition from that job smoothly. Handle that, because the way you leave your job impacts the way you can get other jobs and other assignments. So you want to make sure that you go through that process. If you have to get an attorney to help you with everything, to make sure that your rights aren't violated, that you get all the money to due to you, that you leave the job with a good recommendation or a neutral recommendation, you need to handle that. So you need to make sure that you leave your current position in such a way that it does not hinder you getting any other positions. Okay. So that's first and foremost. The second thing you need to do is to get very clear about why you are doing locums and what you hope to accomplish. Because if you are not clear as to what your why is, you might just end up out here willy-nilly. And that's just not what you want to do. So you need to be very clear about what your why is. The next thing you need to do is to determine what you hope to get out of the process, what you hope to get out of it. You got to go into the thing with some clarity. You got to go into this thing with a plan, because if you do not, and you kind of just jump into it because you're desperate, you're going to make some mistakes. And then once you're real clear about this thing, and if you need some guidance, I tell them to reach out to you because you're an expert at it. You can reach out to me, so I can kind of help you through this process. And then do things like update your CV, make sure your CV is current, go and upload your CV to these job search sites and these locums company sites. And then look around for places in which you can do locums or per diem work directly without, going through a locums company. But the first thing that I would say do, if you're in any kind of situation that, you're at your wit's end, you're thinking about leaving your job and you just can't stand anything anymore, pump your brakes.
Don't just bounce like immediately. You can't do
Don't
that one.
bounce.
Okay, gotcha.
Don't do that. Pump your brakes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Get clarity. Do whatever you want to do, but make sure you plan accordingly. And then you want to plan your locums transition accordingly. And then if you're just using locums as a bridge to your next job or your next your next venture, then you want to plan that accordingly as well too. So pump your brakes, get clarity, get focused, and then walk through the process.
Boom. There it is, everyone. You heard it from the expert, the guru. She knows her locums information. This is the person that you go to when you want to know about how to get your career from unstuck to moving. She knows the locums game in and out. As you just heard, she just gave us locums 101. So listen, very quickly, Dr. Stephanie, if people want to contact you directly, right? How do they get in contact with you? How do they follow you? How do they learn more about you? Tell them all that.
Yes, my email is drstephanie@drstephanieicu.com. I am always on Facebook. I mean, always.
What about TikTok? Come on now. You got to start spreading your wind. Like, you talk about working with 3 different agencies. Why don't you do 3 different social platforms? Come on.
I'm always on Facebook. So you can actually message me on Facebook. Really and truly slide into the DMs. So
it goes down in the DM. Hey, you from Texas. So
and I'm from Alabama, so I'm from the dirty South. So, hey, whatever.
My bad. Not from Texas. So you are, wait, for some reason I thought you did some work in Houston.
I live in Houston.
Gotcha. That's what it is. Okay.
But I'm from Alabama. I'm an Alabama girl, so I'm about that dirty South. So it is what it is.
Got you. Hey, listen, once again, tell them about the locums summit and then also the discount code, please.
Yes. So the Locums Doc Summit, www.thelocumsdocsummit.com, will be October 22nd and 23rd with a special VIP day on October 21st. And if you purchase this as a result of the podcast, please enter the discount code DOTB20 for your 20% off of your ticket purchase.
Come on, guys, do this for yourself, man. Do this for yourself. Support yourself, and then also at the same time, let's support Dr. Stephanie. Let her know Docs Outside the Box Nation knows how to support people. All right, this is for your benefit. All right. So this is awesome. Listen, the other thing too is if you are a locums doc right now, or if you have a business and you're working for yourself, going to this, I'm sure, is something that can be considered tax deductible. Possibly talk to your tax professional first, but listen, it's probably something that they consider that could be tax deductible. I don't know, but I always leave that preface and tell people that anything that I say, just make sure you talk to your tax professional, because don't come for me in the streets if if you get audited. But Dr. Stephanie, thank you very much for this. This was awesome. I really thought that your talk at Dr. Jarrett's conference, License to Live, was amazing, and thank you for blessing our audience with this great info.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing what you're doing. I really respect the fact that you are bringing so much knowledge into this arena and really just elevating the physician community. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and just keep being awesome.
Thank you.